every year, it shouldn't be a problem for any modern machine. So that's the first little thing. And now I'm just going to switch over to an already loaded version of OptiMiser. So the two big new features that we did were, one, the upgraded spreadsheet emulator that I mentioned, and that's to enable us to do some nice charts that help to demonstrate the way the utility rates work. And that'll actually be the second thing I show you. The first thing I want to show you is the new model that we built. So we built a totally new model because we wanted to be able to do better analysis of hourly temperature drift and recovery during setback and setup events. Our existing model does a good job with annual and even daily loads, but it's not as great at the hourly time scale. And in order to be designing things like a pre-cooling strategy, we wanted to have something that was more accurate on an hourly time scale. And because the model that we developed was so new and so different, we wanted to start with a more limited implementation. So for the moment, it's just a tool for analyzing drift and recovery analysis. And you access it through this button on the thermostat screen. It's available on both the simple wizard screen and the detailed wizard screen. I've got it on detailed because in order to do complicated thermostat scheduling, at the moment, you need to use this screen. I'm going to work on improving the simple screen and hopefully get it to where you guys won't need to go to the detailed screen to do what you need to do. But for now, that's probably where you're going to go if you're designing these kind of pre-cooling strategies. So when you click this, it opens a pop-up. And this implementation of the model runs one 24-hour period. And so it's one instance of the model, and you need to pick what you want to run through that model. So you pick whether you're doing the pre-retrofit or post-retrofit building. You pick which HVAC mode you're doing, and you pick the month and day that you want to use for this design review. And it will load the 24-hour temperatures from that month and day. It also loads solar data and wind data and all that for the full hourly analysis. So it's important to set this to get to the time of year that you want to analyze. Once you've done that, if for some reason can you guys see all these pop-ups I'm opening? Can everybody see these? This design temperatures pop-up? Okay.
Yes.
So you can open this view temps to see the actual 24-hour temperatures. If you want to tweak the temperatures, you can check this use custom temperatures box, and these are editable. So if for some reason what we have available for the weather station for your locale and it does not match what you need to design for, you can change those. So once you complete that, you click this run button, and that runs through the model and then shows the set point in blue and the average temperature in purple. So you can see here, this house that I have loaded up is it's an older cement block home that doesn't have much in the way of efficiency. And I have quite a few measures applied, but it's not enough yet to float through the peak period. So we'll just go, I happen to know, because I've played this a lot, that the big thing that's missing right now is it's got single pane windows. And even though I put in solar screens, the conduction through the single pane windows is too much. So if we switch it to a double pane, low gain, low E, and then go back in here, every time you come in and things have changed, it's going to reset the average temp to 0 to let you know you have to rerun the model. And I'll run that again, and now you can see we get through that peak period. So that's the way this is intended to be used. It's a way to design your retrofits and your thermostat strategy to get through peak periods with using a minimal amount of cooling. At the moment, this is the heating and cooling is an all or nothing, hour by hour. I know that one of the things that there's a lot of interest in is maintenance cooling, and that's going to be the next phase of the work. Chris and I have yet to meet and work out the details for the next phase, but I hope that that will be starting up in the next month or so. So I'm going to pause here and see if anybody has questions about this feature. All right, I will move on. So the next feature.
Oh, sorry to interrupt. I asked a question about the high mass interior. Can you go over what that is?
Yeah. So this, if you hover over it, there's a good tooltip. So this is this isn't applicable for a block home, but if you're in a stick-built home and it's like a higher-end home that has a lot of granite counters or tile flooring, stone fireplaces, things that would make the interior have a higher mass, then you would check that box. So that'll make a difference in the drift time.
Do you have an explanation of that written somewhere, like what the
if you hover over it there,
what high mass is?
Yeah, if you hover over it, can you guys see the tooltip that pops up?
Okay, got it.
It explains what we're looking for. Yeah. Anything else?
How much is that? Have you seen in the modeling is to changing by clicking that? Is a lot?
Yeah, it can make a difference.
I'll keep an eye on it.
Yeah, it's something to play around with. So the model, one of the inputs for the model that's behind the scenes is a set of factors. That it's an iterative hourly model that utilizes a set of factors that have to be developed on a housing type by housing type basis. And for this first implementation, we have a limited set of those. And so I wanted to be able to cover a bigger range, so I added that one in. Eventually, we hope to have this where we can generate those factors on the fly. We're working with the engineer who developed this model for us to do that. And then once we get that, there may be, we may develop something, input sets that are a little more specific. So you won't be guessing quite as much about whether or not you have a high mass interior. But for now, I would say you want to make sure there's a significant amount of features in the home that increase its mass before you check that. Anything else?
Yeah, quick question. I probably
Sure.
show my ignorance a bit. This is Mark Wilhelm. I'm just curious if you can provide a link to the I guess the engine that drives the calcs and such, or an overview of what that is. I imagine everybody else on the call probably knows that, but I don't. So.
Well, this engine is actually custom built, so it's not. There's not really resources available. It's an evolution of the radiant time series method,
Okay.
which is used primarily in commercial design.
Yep.
And so what the modifications were, one, to develop factor sets that are appropriate for residential
Got it.
construction, and then the second was that the radiant time series method is a static temperature set point, and so we had to have we worked with some of the original authors of that method to develop second step that allows you to run a model that has a variable set point temperature.
Okay, I appreciate that. Thanks.
Yeah. That's a good question. Thanks. Anybody else? All right. So the second feature is down here in this new analyze rates step in the wizard. And this is where we're making use of the new spreadsheet emulator. So these kind of heat map style charts are something that weren't available in our old emulator, but they're a really nice way to visualize both the kind of density of usage and the way the rate structures are set up. So the default view here on the main page is the proposed rate and the proposed usage, so you can see how those things line up. In this case, we've done a significant amount to move shift load out of the peak period already. But we also have a bunch of other charts developed here, and this is something where we'd like to get feedback. If there's something that we don't have that you want, or there's combinations of charts. This is a big experiment for all of us, and you guys are the ones on the front lines. So we're looking to get feedback from you on what works in your decision making and presenting things to the homeowners. So these three pop-ups allow you to compare the base and proposed rates to visualize the differences between those. So here you've got the saver choice with the really high rate during the peak period, no demand charge, compared with the saver choice max, the much lower rates and the high demand charge. This one compares pre and post usage, so you can really visualize how the loads were shifted. And this one is costs. So that's essentially combining those first two sets of charts to see how the costs distribute. And then these two over here are single ones that show the savings, distribution of savings in usage and savings in dollars. And there's also here, and this is this is the most obviously the most powerful tool here, is just you can play around with different rates and see the annual costs. So here's, if I don't change the rate at all and just implement the measures, the savings for each rate. And then this final button here is for report content. So we developed a new report page, and this is the least developed part because I've still been waiting for some content from APS. But we have a basic page developed, and I just put in some really simple sample content here. You guys are probably familiar with these memo controls. They allow you to develop different content sets and save them and pick which one you want. So this first cut at a report page has a first block of text and then one specific to a chart. And then you can choose which of the charts. So out of all the charts that I showed you, right now we have a page that lets you pick 2 charts and have text for each of them. So again, this is particularly is where we really weren't sure what's the best approach for presenting us to homeowners. And so we want a lot of feedback on that, and we'll be working as quickly as we can to develop that and make it more useful. And I'll just show you quickly what that looks like. So these pages, right? This is the one that's already released, just elect rates page that's doesn't have any charts, similar structure. And then this is the new one. So there you can see that pulls the charts in nicely. They look a little blurry in this preview, but they're much crisper in the actual document. And
Yeah, this is Charlie. How would you like feedback to happen? Do you want people to
yeah,
send it directly to you, or do you want them to send it to me and I can forward it to you? How would you prefer?
I was actually going to ask you if you would do that, take on that role.
Okay.
Could combine
the
feedback.
Right.
Maybe,
yeah, what I can do is I'll just forward stuff that I get every day to you then, and everybody out there, if you have comments, just send it to me and I will forward it on.
And yeah, getting feedback from everybody is going to generate a lot of inputs, and I'm hoping that you can kind of help to synthesize that and figure out what's
right.
the best approach. I'd like to make this flexible as I can, because I think there's going to be an exploratory phase where people are figuring out what's the best way to present this. So I'm totally open to making this 2 pages and adding 2 more charts, but to figure out a way to do it that that's flexible enough for multiple approaches. But this, we just wanted to get the proof of concept on a page so that we could see how it looks, and then hopefully have something that would be.
How is the demand charges, all of the clients' data, are we entering that manually, or are we taking the load that Chris has been generating and putting in there? How is that step happening?
So this all comes out of the model right now. So that was something I did want to mention. The next phase hopefully will include getting that hourly data import, and then doing something to calibrate the model using that. Because right now the demand charges are based on these very smooth hourly usage profiles for each end use. We know that's going to result in lower estimated demand charges. It's still going to, it's still going to give you good estimates of the savings from the measures that you're doing, because they're not really going to impact the shape, the messiness of the actual demand events. The relative difference caused by the measures, I think, is still a good estimate. But in order to make the total demand charges align more closely with what your users are actually seeing on their bills, we're going to need that step of having an import of the true hourly data, and then tuning the model to that. So for now, this is just based on the hourly model results and the rate that you've chosen. So the demand charge is there in the rate.
Okay, fair enough. Thanks.
Sorry, can you repeat that?
I said thank you.
Oh, okay. Great. Any other questions? Okay. Well, we'll put out pretty detailed release notes when this comes out, to give you a reminder of what the new features are and where to find them. And
I guess I do have a couple more questions. Sorry
sure,
to
go ahead. No
we've been focusing a lot on the Saver Choice Max, but I have had some clients ask about the other rate plan, the Plus, because it has slightly less of a demand charge that looks, no matter how many times I tell them that it's not going to work out beneficially. But what are your graphs showing that the Saver Choice Plus is just not really a good option if we're going to do the demand charges? We just do the Max plan.
Yeah, well, I mean, the total annual projected cost is the ultimate figure to show. So you are interested in showing them So would the scenario be they're on Saver Choice, they're interested in Saver Choice Plus, and you want to show them both Saver Choice Plus and Saver Choice Max as an alternative?
Right.
Okay. So you'd be interested in being able to show both of those charts side by side?
Not necessarily. I just wanted to see what it's how much you guys have played with it and what the potential is of it.
Gamaliel, could you just show the net difference between Max and Plus? Just by changing Plus, we can remember 1150.
Yeah, you can change it here. I don't have currently a way to store to compare them side by side, so we would have to.
No, but I mean that shows you $250 a year.
Yeah.
I don't think he was asking necessarily for a side by side. Just could you compare the two? And the answer is yes.
Yeah. One of my initial feedbacks was they have the ability to do like Saver Choice Plus, and also in the report have Saver's Choice Max. So both of those comparisons would be in the report. Just having the ability to do a number of pages.
Yeah. I think that's not a difficult thing to add.
Yeah, because that concept here is just, especially when we get the real live utility data, it'd be nice to be able. It's just the more data you show people that you're doing the best for them, the better it's going to be.
Yeah, we're asking to do that, unfortunately, to skip past it. So you put a whole lot of effort into making that plan. So, yep, it's not worthwhile in doing. So we're going to now show you the one that we would like you to do.
Yep.
Okay. I'll think about if there's an easy way to get that in before I release this, and if not, it can definitely be one of the first.
I'd say it's lower on my priority list. I don't know if everybody else has that same feel, but there's some other things that would be much higher on the list to request than that.
Do you want to tell me about those?
Well, getting the data imported, the hourly data and all that stuff, so it can be more reflective of the client's usage. But we've already discussed that, and I know you guys are working hard, so.
Okay.
What about some anything else in like altering some of the measures, and any interesting things that you found by changing certain factors? Yeah,
well, that thing I showed you with the windows, that was really a surprise to me. I had not usually thought of window upgrades as a winner in most circumstances, and it's still a very high cost measure for the payoff. But in terms of making these pre-cooling strategies work, it was a surprise to me to find out that doing everything else didn't get you far enough. That the heat gain, the conductive heat gain through the windows was such a big factor.
Hey, Gamaliel?
Yeah.
Can you do a quick model of a dual pane vinyl versus a dual pane low E? So you're starting with dual pane, and I want to what it looks like.
So just a clear double pane?
Yeah. Do your base as a clear dual pane.
Well, in terms of seeing it on this, I'm going to do it like that first because this is all set up. So that was, just double pane was enough to get you through that. I think before it was hitting 77 and now we're up to 78, but it did keep us from getting up to 80. Is that what you were wanting to see? How it affected the...
Now I want you to do it with your base being a dual pane vinyl low E or a metal because a lot of people our base is already dual pane, and they think they need to spend 40,000 on dual pane low E. I get that conversation all the time.
Well, we'll see the same thing. If we say this, then we don't have to make that change.
Just going from dual pane to sunscreen.
So that's what we've got here. I mean, this is combined with everything else, but yeah, that's what it's the same difference. But yeah, so you don't, in this particular home, to get that, you don't need to, if this is the metric we're looking at, can you flow it through, then that's.
But could you show the difference between the double pane and the double pane low E? That's what I heard
I can do it, and yeah, so again, we can't, at the moment, we can't save different copies of these and view them.
Right.
That's something that we're going to work on, but so we can look at this one and stick it in our minds and then go to the other one. So it's just above 78. And now we're down just about 70. So it's about a 1 degree difference over that span.
Can you set the solar heat gain coefficient to, say, 0.24 and see what kind of difference that has? I think it's at 3.1, what you have it at now.
Sure. So I've got a little, I know that was
another half degree, maybe. Okay, thanks.
Yep. It's actually been a while since I built this and was playing around with it, and I'm trying to remember some of the other insights that I had.
I do remember one of them. I think that Chris was talking about was the difference between R38 to 43, 49, 60, all of that. I mean, how large of a difference is each tier of R value contributing to the model? The drift.
Yeah, well, let's go and we just turn off the attic insulation, so it's R. So go back down to R11. Pull this up here and run it again. So there you go. Now, so you want to look at some in-between scenarios. So we had R49, so we're down to R38. So 38, I think there's not, we were at just above 77 degrees before, so less than half a degree there for the going from 38 to 39, or to 49, sorry. Yeah. Which is about what you would expect. I mean, the difference between 38 and 39 on a U value basis is not that much. Let's see, what else do we have here? Turn off the wall insulation. That's going to make a bigger difference, because in this, this was one of those particular cases that we were looking at. That we were wanting to be able to model well, which is adding insulation on the outside of a block wall to get the addition of that mass. And you can see that's a pretty big difference when you take the walls out.
How was the insulation added in that model? What's the projection?
It's like an R10 exterior.
Through what?
Like rigid insulation on the outside of a cement block. Is that what you mean?
Say it again, please.
rigid R10 insulation on the exterior of cement block.
So foam board and
Yeah.
and some other side of siding.
Right. Yep. I'm not sure that I even have the, yeah, stucco, foam board and stucco. That's what I have there. Well, one other thing to mention, when you run this model, if the parameters of the building are outside the scope of what we've enabled the model for, you will get a message letting you know that, and it won't complete. In that case, please send it to us right away. It will help us learn about which, what types of constructions we need to expand the abilities of the model to meet. It also may be in many cases that we can run the model and that we just set conservative limits on what we're allowing right now, since the model is fairly new and we don't want to push it too hard without getting more experience. So if you get that message when you click run, just send us an error report right away. Chances are we could get you a result back pretty quickly, or at least let you know where the issue is.
Camille, when would this 2020 be accessible? Is it today?
It's not accessible today. I'm hoping in the next 2 weeks it will be out.
Okay.
Possibly as early as the end of the week. I just finished up the work that I needed to do to integrate this into more of a core feature, and I just need to do a little more testing, and then I can get it out.
Can you go back to the measures page of everything that was included in these particular models?
Uh-huh. I had that one in there previously.
So you're showing that wall portion. Well, I guess that's not really, there.
You can't insulate the exterior for $1,400 either. So.
Yeah, well, that's what I was going to say. But it's neither here nor there. That's
yeah. Well,
you're going to paint the whole house for $1,400. I'd like to meet the contractor, please.
And you can't change out 33 light bulbs to LEDs for 74 either. So just your pricing is skewed, but that's fine. That's why I want to know when it's going to be released so we can play with it. And actually, this probably should have been delayed until it was ready to roll out, because now we got to sit here for 2 weeks and forget half this stuff until we can play with it ourselves.
Well, we have a recording of this we can make available, and there will be detailed release notes, and hopefully it'll be less than 2 weeks out. That's my top priority, is to get it out, but I just wanted to give a generous timeline there in case something comes up.
So just to clarify, I think you already mentioned, but in this scenario, there's literally no maintenance cooling whatsoever.
Right. So that will be one of the next features. I have to get with Chris and get the next phase lined up so we can start working on that.
So these are some of the, have you done a house, ran through it that was 2x4 or 2x6 on the exterior wall? I know there's a lot of the block houses, but I'd say almost an equal amount that we'll come across is frame built.
Yes, yeah, I have played around with those. Let me see if I have one I can pull up.
Multi-system, if that's something that, if you're seeing any differences in 2, 3 systems sometimes.
Well, the multi-system wouldn't make a difference in the model since it's a single zone model, even when you have multiple systems. We only have the one set of thermostat controls. I'm a little nervous demoing this file because I haven't looked at it in a couple months. But I'll give it a try. Let's see. Oh, yeah. Let's see. Nope. So this is the message I'm talking about that you will get. And I think it's probably coming up right now because so my system was way undersized. So I haven't developed that part of the model or this house yet. There we go. Oh, there we go. So this one is, I don't remember what measures I have in place yet, but you can see this one's not getting much drift time at all. So I don't have much in here. Well, I don't know if there's much benefit in me spending 20 minutes playing around with this model for you guys.
That's fine.
But you'll be able to do that yourself, and hopefully in a couple days. Anybody have any other questions? All right, well, we'll wrap this up, and I'll get to work on getting the release together.
Well, thanks a lot. It's looking good.
Thanks, Charlie.
Thanks for the time.
Yeah, thanks very much. Appreciate it.
Any questions?
Thank you.
All right.